The dawn broke brightly over the petite fishing settlement, nestled along the shores of Lake Azumi. Villagers started the day with their routine activities, as the fishermen arranged their nets and boats for fishing, while the women started to prepare breakfast for their families. Lucius completed the repair of a minor tear in his fishing net before making his way down to the shore to meet his companion and neighbor, Marcus. Together, they launched their wooden boat onto the calm waters as the initial rays of sunlight danced across the lake. "I have a positive intuition about today," Lucius remarked as they set out. "I believe we will have a successful catch." The two companions relished their time spent fishing together. The tranquility of being out on the open waters was always refreshing. Soon they encountered a large school of fish and cast their nets. Upon attempting to haul it in, they felt an unusually hefty resistance. "We've struck it big today," Marcus exclaimed with excitement. Straining with all their might, they eventually managed to pull the nets aboard, revealing a colossal figure entangled within, its iridescent scales shimmering in the morning sunlight. It was an Oceanid, and she lay lifeless. The two friends stared in astonishment at the mythical creature sprawled motionless in their boat. Possessing the torso and visage of a woman, but sporting a long gleaming fishtail instead of legs, she appeared ethereal with her eyes shut and long black hair drifting eerily around her face. Unusual markings adorned her wrists and neck. "What course of action should we take?" Lucius inquired in a hushed tone, his apprehension palpable. Oceanids were fantastical beings seldom encountered by humans, and legend warned of dire consequences for those who captured or harmed them. "We must return her to the lake," Marcus asserted, his voice resolute yet uneasy. With trembling hands, they freed her body from the net and gently lowered her back into the water, observing as the glow of her tail dissolved into the depths. Swiftly, they steered their boat back toward the village, their hearts pounding with trepidation. Neither friend dared to speak of the ominous curse now hanging over their home. A mournful cry resonated across the lake as they departed. In the ensuing days, life resumed its usual rhythm in the village. Lucius and Marcus continued their fishing endeavors, avoiding the vicinity where they had encountered the Oceanid. Meanwhile, the women tended to their households, preparing meals and attending to chores without incident. However, a week later, on a sunny afternoon, two young girls frolicked and laughed by the lake shore after completing their laundry in the glistening waters. Spotting a captivating fish scale shimmering with iridescent hues in the sunlight, they exclaimed with delight. "How exquisite!" Julia exclaimed as she reached to retrieve it. She and her sister, Flavia, frequently collected intriguing items to adorn their home. Gently placing the scale in her pocket, they returned to the village, oblivious to the curses unleashed by the deceased Oceanid's scale coming into contact with mortal flesh. The following morning, Julia awoke to peculiar cramps in her legs. As she struggled to rise from bed, she recoiled in horror. Overnight, her legs had fused into a single appendage, tapering into a fish's tail adorned with lustrous silver scales. Collapsing to the floor, she succumbed to inexplicable impulses and desires that overwhelmed her senses. Hearing her daughter's distressing cries, Julia's mother rushed into the room, frozen in shock and fear at the sight. "What affliction has befallen you, my child?" she exclaimed. Concerned neighbors soon gathered outside their home, murmuring anxiously upon learning of the bizarre transformation afflicting young Julia. Before long, another harrowing cry echoed nearby as a young woman named Octavia emerged from her dwelling, doubled over in agony. To the villagers' astonishment, her legs too began to meld into a potent fish's tail, glistening with sapphire blue scales in the sunlight. Pandemonium erupted throughout the village as several more girls underwent the same unnatural metamorphosis. Afflicted individuals, having recently immersed themselves in Lake Azumi, found themselves cursed to become part human, part fish creatures of local legend, the Oceanid maidens. While they continued to reside in their village abodes, they could no longer lead normal human lives. Awkwardly navigating with their powerful tails or newly formed fins, they grappled with primal urges such as cravings for seafood and an insatiable thirst for water, all while retaining human emotions and desires. At the lake's edge, guards watched in horror as ripples betrayed the presence of additional oceanids congregating beneath its surface. Occasional glimpses of bobbing heads or glimmering scales left them trembling and vigilant. Soon, dire tidings reached the village. A guard had vanished overnight from his lakeside patrol. Despite search efforts scouring nearby woods and ravines, no trace of him was found. 3 nights later, a bloodied leg bone surfaced along the lake's shore, leaving no doubt among the villagers regarding the Oceanid's inaugural mortal victim. Desperate to safeguard the remaining women from the Oceanid curse, men enforced strict confinement measures, while others toiled tirelessly to supply food and water to the imprisoned Oceanid women from the village's blessed central well. Yet, despite these precautions, nightly horrors continued to plague the village. Oceanids emerged under the cover of darkness, ensnaring minds and enticing more victims to the lake. Guards disappeared only to wash ashore days later, stripped of flesh. Death cast its shadow over Lake Azumi, and the village quaked beneath the nocturnal cries echoing along its vine-draped shores. Day by day, the village dwindled as most womenfolk became Oceanids confined to their homes. The remaining men struggled to sustain their families while shielding the village from nightly terrors. Food spoiled faster than it could be consumed, and children lamented hunger as their fathers grappled with the challenge of procuring clean water. Meanwhile, Lucius and Marcus redoubled their efforts to procure enough fish from a smaller lake on the village's opposite side to stave off starvation. However, this alternative supply dwindled, and despite their efforts to conceal it, the Oceanid's curse extended to this lake as well. Bobbing heads and unearthly cries beneath moonlit waters betrayed its corruption by Oceanids. Soon, even children vanished while gathering berries or tending to crops. Their skeletal remains surfaced days later, stripped bare. Oceanid assaults escalated, targeting anyone daring to approach the shoreline by day or venture near the water's edge at night. Ultimately, in desperation, Lucius and Marcus sought counsel from the elderly priest tending the village shrine, seldom visited in recent times. "Please aid us in lifting the Oceanid's curse," implored the two friends to the venerable sage, whose weathered countenance bore witness to generations of wisdom. "Have mercy on us. So many have perished, and soon none will remain." The aged priest sighed, contemplating in silence before responding. Finally, he fixed his gaze upon the brothers and spoke, "These Oceanids now inhabit both lakes, and their bloodlust defies containment. Even my most potent talismans and protections will only provoke their assaults." Though disheartened, Lucius and Marcus listened intently as the priest continued. "Listen well, young fishermen. Where one curse festers, another may hold the key to its undoing." His gaze bore into each brother in turn. "Return to the very place where calamity struck in the depths of Lake Azumi. Seek out the ancient entity dwelling amidst its stones and sediment, and petition the catfish elder for liberation." The elderly priest recounted tales of a colossal catfish rumored to inhabit the shadowy depths of Lake Azumi. Local lore depicted this whiskered behemoth as a denizen of primordial times, bestowing blessings upon virtuous mortals when it emerged. However, its assistance exacted a price. With nothing left to lose, Lucius and Marcus embarked the following dawn on a voyage across the blood-stained waters, braving the shrieks of ravenous Oceanids. As they rowed, elusive shapes darted beneath the boat's hull, concealed from view. Reaching the site of the Oceanid's discovery, the two dropped anchor and steeled themselves for the task ahead. Raising his hands skyward, Lucius beseeched, "O great catfish elder of the lake, heed our plea." His voice carried across the water as Marcus steadied their vessel against the gentle sway. "Show mercy and lift this blight upon our village." Solemn silence enveloped the lake momentarily before massive bubbles erupted at the water's surface. Emerging was the colossal whiskered head of the mightiest catfish known to man, its single milky eye fixing upon the two diminutive figures. Fear gripped the brothers at the sight of its bristling maw, and the hint of its vast body coiling beneath the dark depths. In a voice reminiscent of stones grinding beneath the lake bed, the catfish elder admonished, "I warned the Oceanid long ago to shun contact with mortal men, lest dire repercussions follow." Its gaze bore into the fisherman. "Yet, by your hands, she met her demise, thus precipitating her curse and your village's plight." Trembling, Marcus spoke. "O revered catfish elder, we harbored no ill intent. We returned her to the lake. Yet the curse persists. Can you not aid us?" Tendrils of algae trailed from the catfish's gaping maw as it deliberated. With knuckles clenched white, Lucius awaited its response. "Perhaps," it rumbled, "my kin and I may possess the means to purge these waters of the curse unleashed by that Oceanid's dying whales. However, dispelling such anguish and restoring peace demands great sacrifice. Fixing them with its monstrous presence, it intoned, 'Through the depths, all magic exacts its toll. Are you prepared to pay the price, fisherman?' Locked in a steely resolve, both affirmed, 'We shall pay any cost to spare our village,' declared Lucius, with Marcus nodding grimly beside him. With the weight of their dire decision pressing upon them, they contemplated the fate of their besieged community. In the village below, the remaining inhabitants suffered beneath the spectre of starvation and the chilling shrieks of the Oceanids. Only the intervention of the catfish elder could lift the curse, though it demanded the sacrifice of one of their lives. At length, Marcus stirred. "My dear friend, allow me to make this sacrifice," he murmured softly. "It was your net that ensnared her from these waters. Permit me to set things right so that you may endure." As Lucius moved to protest, Marcus raised a restraining hand, his countenance suffused with solemn resolve. Retrieving a fisherman's knife, he drew it across his jugular without hesitation. His hand steady, he spoke, "Know that my love for you endures always, my friend," before succumbing to the crimson tide. As Marcus's remains were consumed by the lake, Lucius wailed in anguish, his friend's sacrifice etched into his soul. Crimson waves lapped at the boat's hull, enveloping Lucius in a haze of despair as he wept bitterly. Slowly, a deathly stillness descended over the accursed lake. No longer did haunting cries echo between its shores. Even the gentle waves yielded a profound calm. Stunned, Lucius raised his tear-streaked visage. Around his drifting vessel, the waters swirled with myriad catfish of varying sizes, silently converging upon him. Encircled by the luminescent whirlpool, he beheld a miraculous sight. Before his disbelieving eyes, the smaller catfish began to ascend, dissolving into clouds of golden pollen wafting toward the heavens. The lake blossomed with ethereal flowers, akin to colossal water lilies unfurling across its expanse. As more catfish dissolved into the golden mist ascending on the breeze, even the Oceanids relinquished their baleful thirst for blood, succumbing to the catfish elder's purifying ritual. Emerging amidst the blossoms, the Oceanids sang songs tinged with bittersweet joy, their spectral forms blending with the rain and gold. Soon, the entire lake shimmered with a radiant tapestry of gold and white, draped beneath a canopy of celestial blooms, whispering promises of tranquility. Lucius's boat drifted silently across the sanctified waters, rendered holy by the intervention of the catfish elder. Lost in grief, he marked the passage of time.